So if we're going to get to that place, if we're going to speak to that, where intellect falls flat and is a useless moving around chairs on the Titanic, all mental activity is that. All doership is that. And you are not that. You are that which is unmoving, unchanging, simple awareness. So Papaji, the very first thing I heard him say at formal satsang is he said, I tell you to just be quiet. Simply to appraise you of the fact that you are quiet itself. So the first part, so I'm going to be very, analytical, because that's the part that doesn't really exactly work. But the first part is, I tell you to just be quiet. Now that's like a technique, or not really a technique so much as a pointing. To just be quiet. But that activity of just being quiet isn't anything in terms of what you are. It doesn't change anything. But if you are quiet, you will see that you are the quiet that already always was. And that seeing may cause you to stop doing anything, because of the misguided notion that some kind of doing is going to lead to something having to do with your nature. So no doing leads you to your nature, but stopping doing may make it obvious. But even the stopping of the doing doesn't do anything. It's as if it's always there, and the reason you can't hear it is because the sound of your own breathing covers it. So somebody says, stop breathing for a moment, hold your breath. I know some people say when they aim a gun, they have to hold their breath when they pull the trigger so they don't move. So if you hold your breath, you'll be able to hear a sound that's always there. It's the same thing about just being quiet. It's not that it creates the sound. It's not that what you are, which is silence itself, is created by being quiet, or anything is changed. It's just that you're not distracted by your own noise, so you can notice that you are quiet itself. This is all just dancing around it. It can't be spoken. It can't truly, ultimately be conveyed. But there is something like pointing that can happen through language, concepts, all of it. But it isn't the concepts at all. It isn't figuring it out, getting it right. That's the thing. There's seeds of doubt that say, you're in this state of quiet as a form of escape. You should go back to thinking about this quiet so you could figure out what's really going on. Because turning off the mind is not the same as insight. There's something to that. So if you turn on the mind and you think it through so that you can see clearly that the mind cannot reach there, and how it can't reach there, not just because the sages said so, but you could see into the limits of thought, of conceptual understanding, of use of the mind in this arena. Use of the mind with objects is fine. It's perfectly made for that. But use of the mind to recognize the object, it only goes, I mean, the subject, it only goes so far. And then after that point, it's sort of like a jumping off place. There's no way that the mind can go there. Well, if you can see that clearly, then when you are resting in silence, you do not reach for mind, because it's just, I used mind to see that it doesn't work. So there's just really clarity about the nature of thought. It clearly cannot see where I'm looking. So then all there is looking in silence. And that looking in silence has no thought to keep one separate from silence. Lee, let's continue here. Is that,
yes.
How's that?
Yes. Yes, and it addresses the implicit question I didn't get to ask about the mind getting to its end and abandoning itself.
Yeah.
Recognizing its limits and abandoning itself.
Yes. You could say that, mind is an instrument at that level. Then it's an instrument, though, for communicating to other people and to looking at the objective world.
Yes.
That's all.
And I've been spending my whole life using it as a tool. So
Right.
To let go of it, I guess recognizing its limits in this domain,
Yes.
in the domain of truth,
Yes.
is an important, maybe essential step, but it's still a very deeply ingrained habit to turn to it, to pick it up again.
Right. No harm in picking it up again. It's just that you can't, when you're using it, it doesn't work for that.
Right.
You just let go of it when you want to.
Just let go of it.
Yeah.
That's not a doing.
That's a doing. That's a doing. Just let go of it. But the doing is only, it's like this. If you think that you can do anything, then let go of it. It's not that the problem is the idea of a doer. It's not the doing or not doing. That's a secondary level. If you think that you can do anything, go ahead, then let go of the mind. That's good. It's a good doing. And I'm not saying that ironically. I'm not saying then you'll see that you're really not the doer. No, as long as you feel that you're a doer. I mean, this is the conundrum of all. It's not really a conundrum. You could say this is the means of all Buddhas. This is not Krishna. I mean, I'm not claiming to be a Buddha either, but all the sages do this. Ramana Maharshi taught self-inquiry. Buddha taught 108,000 techniques. There's always some, it's like for the person that is a doer, okay, here's something to do. And some of the things that are given to do are for people who, like, this is the way, whether it's factual or not. I mean, it doesn't matter. But according to Buddhist understanding, Buddhist philosophy, especially Mahayana philosophy, they speak in terms of the Buddha having 108,000 techniques. In other words, all the schools of Buddhism are there to serve people in ultimately going beyond all of the skillful means. Some of the skillful means is for people who it takes a long time for them to develop the point at which they can transcend or let go. Others, it's like, here's the technique, let go. It's like that. But others, it's not. It's a long thing, and here's the Buddhas, and pray to them, and then trust, and then feel this, and do that, and just a whole thing to get to the point where okay, now let go. And I'm not saying that those are like the secret passwords, because those might not be the words at all. They're gonna be, but it comes down to that. In the Pure Land school, it's totally trust Amitabha. Don't have to talk about letting go. In other schools, it's abiding as intrinsic awareness. It's another way of saying it. Whatever way you want to say it, it's not the words. It's the actual relinquishment of ego as identity. There's 1,001 ways to assist the doing mind to exhaust itself, or see through itself, or recognize itself, or whatever. And depending on the person, there's different things that are appropriate, or sometimes mix and match it, whatever. But what it comes down to in the end is that there is no doer, or that you are not the doer, is another way of saying it. That you didn't choose any of this. This is all beyond you. If there's a sense of doership, then by all means, choose freedom. Choose letting go. It's you're saying to choose, but there's no choose, but I'm not the chooser. It's like, okay, if you really know that you're not the chooser, then we're done. We're done here. That's perfect. The teaching has been conveyed. You've received the transmission. Wonderful. Then what are we having this conversation about? You see, there's really no problem there. It's just a language trick. Does this make sense, Lee?
Absolutely.
And it's not, and it's the thing is that intellectually we can understand that there's no doer, but we're still convinced there is. So therefore, do self-inquiry. What's aware of the sense of doership? Who is it that thinks there's a doer? Look. And even if only momentarily, you will find no one who is there, and that no one is silence itself. Silent, unfindable. And in the midst of that silence that is unfindable, there is a radiance of presence. This can be experienced even if there's mind going around there, or a feeling of doership in the midst of it. Because we live in that silence. And when I say we, I mean the sense of doership. It's the ground of our being. It surrounds us. It's what we are in. And in the midst of that, seeing that, you can even jump and say, I am that. I always was that. Actually, after the jump, it's obvious there was no jump needed. Even with mind, even with the sense of doership arising in consciousness, it can be obvious. What we are can be known. This is what some people call awakening, or awakening. Like what Papaji called awakening, for sure. Many, many people awoke with him, and we're not all free of ego or mind or personal doership, but there's a recognition that that is not what we are. Much of the time is a recognition. So I make no claims to being free of identification or ego. That something did happen with Papaji. And it's still here. And I've gone through a lot of changes that other people have seen as awakenings or the second birth or whole being realization and all this. And yet that basic recognition as emptiness itself, as unconditioned awareness, that is maintained, that is continuous. That's still the case, always the case. Even in my idiotic behavior at times, even in my egoistic whatever. In other words, even in my most human failings, which are just what's arising in consciousness, has nothing to do with me. The personality, it's the body. And as the personality and the body, I say, this is what I am. This is who I am. And I do honor it and also take responsibility for it and speak from it. And it isn't ultimately what I am. It's beyond me. What I am is beyond me, and what arises as a human is beyond me also. I can't manage it. I mean, I don't even know who I'm speaking about when I say I. I can't manage it. What does that mean? Who is this I? I don't know. I hope this is helpful, Lee. I think it is, but I don't know.
Absolutely. Very, very much. Thank you.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much.